Welcome to Love and Dialogue, the podcast where love speaks. I'm Tristan.
And I'm Breanna. We're so excited to have you join us as we explore the ups, downs, and all the in-betweens of relationships in all forms, whether it's with a partner, a friend, or family.
Whether you're here for heartfelt stories, honest advice, or just a good laugh, you're in the right place.
Relationships come in all varieties and dynamics, and we're on this journey together, sharing our experiences and learning along the way.
Every week, we dive into real conversations about what it takes to build and nurture meaningful connections in our lives.
So let's dive in together and see where this love-filled journey takes us, no matter what kind of relationship you're navigating.
Thanks for tuning in to Love and Dialogue. Let's get started.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the Love and Dialogue podcast with your host, Tristan and the lovely
Breanna.
What we got for the folks today, Bree?
All right, guys. So today we are going to talk a little bit about relationships and friendships.
Ooh.
And how we navigate that, right?
Okay.
So a lot of the time when people get into relationships, there's a shift or change that comes with friendships naturally. And so we're going to dive a little bit into kind of what that could look like, some struggles that may come with it, and then also how to be able to navigate it effectively.
I mean, I say a struggle. There are struggles. I'll just jump right in.
Go for it.
Jump right in.
What are your struggles, honey?
The balance piece.
Yeah.
Like you're starting something new. You want to give your time over to that new partner that you just started giving your time to, right? And then you have your friends, right? And there's that balancing piece. It's more of like, I've now found someone I really want to give my time to, and engage with someone that could be my everyday.
Yeah.
And there's like, you have your core centerpieces of your people that you fall back to, and you can always go to help that used to help with your balance, right? Now you're integrating this whole new person into your circle.
Yeah.
And it becomes like, all right, I want to make sure I'm giving this person the time of day because I don't want to lose that person because I'm really vibing with them. They're, I can see them being my partner for long term. And then there's the people that you've always had, but they always say as time grows, your circle gets smaller. And I've had those dynamics within my circle that I've lost people due to being with you or marriage and getting to the point of marriage, So like, I definitely say, like, since we started dating, I don't see my circle as much as I used to, but even within my circle, they have their own relationships they're working with. So it's like, now it's not like it's a bunch of single people trying to fight for each other's time. It's like, now my time has been given to that partner that I have solidified my days with.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So I just hear it's more of a progression piece. It's like finding the balance of like when you first started dating and connecting with someone, and then figuring out the balance of how to integrate your friendships into that. And I distinctively remember a conversation I had with one of my friends, and I was just like, when I was trying to plan my birthday party, and she was like, well, why do we need to bring these people? And why do we need to bring that people? And I was like, well, I'm trying to combine my worlds. Like, what I mean? So ultimately, like, when you are developing like a new relationship, and when you have your strong foundation of friendships, it's really about integrating those two together, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. And it's like, how do you navigate that effectively so that you're not losing and risking friendships? But I think, to your point, it's like, I think it's multiple factors. It's the age piece, like, when you are younger, things look a lot differently. Your access to people, the access to time looks a lot different. Like, I know all my friends these days, like, if we don't put it on a calendar, it ain't happening. Like, we have to sit down together and say, what are your next dates? And we're planning out months in advance. So it's like kind of that intentionality that we talk about as far as like friendships. It correlates to relationships too.
I'm always curious, like, do you think it's a gender thing? I feel like the female population are able to, plan those things better than the male. I feel like for the male population, we gravitate more of just going with whatever the partner wants to do versus thinking about how to integrate the friends. I think we kind of sell ourselves to like, all right, I'm with this person. And I know there's the variables of having kids, right? So that definitely is a whole different
an extra
topic.
Layer. Yeah.
But just the ideologies of just like your person, right? You go with this partner and that's all you see from the male perspective. But where I don't know from a female perspective, Is it that you're with your partner and it's just like, oh, how can it, like you was talking about bringing your worlds together? I can't say in the male population we automatically think that way.
Mm. No, I think that is 100% a factor in this. I think that I don't know. And again, this could be my own personal thoughts and feelings, and I don't know if other people share this, but my thoughts and feelings are like I want to have my friends. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like they have been here, no offense, before you. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So I want to invest in those relationships in the best way that I can while still investing fully in my relationship. You know what
right.
I mean? Like I don't think that I think that things have to dial down 100% depending on how you showed up in your friendships before your relationship. I think there's always going to be that adjustment period, but I think if you same thing how we talk about relationships in general, I think it applies to friendships and romantic relationships. The effort that you put into your friendships should also, at least somewhat connect to the effort you're putting into your romantic relationships. I'm not saying it should be like 50-50, but
Yeah.
in my feelings, I think that if I'm pouring into my romantic relationships 100% and I want this to work and I want my friends to be on board with this partner that I'm exploring and building this relationship with, I want them to be a part of that journey. And like I want them to like my partner. I want them to have relationships with my partner. Is it going to be 1000% like correct every time? No. Am I going to lose friends? Have I lost friends? 100%. You know what I mean? Do I wish it was different? Absolutely. So I feel like I think for me, it goes back to that intentionality of like, is this something that you want? Are these people that you want to have continue in your life? And if so, what's your effort in making that happen?
I also want to peel back a layer there as we dive into the whole relationship versus friendship. I feel as you're coming along
Mm-hmm.
within a relationship with your partner,
Yeah.
I see the friendship piece being a strong piece because you're also in the same time you need that safe boundary piece, right? So you're also introducing your partner to your friends and they're giving you feedback like, oh, that's your person, that's not your person. And I think those do play roles, but I feel like once you get everyone's bought in and say, nah, that's your person, right? Then it's just like, all right, you've invested your time, like that's my person. So now I feel like that's where things start going and getting lost.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that like once everybody's kind of bought into who you're connected to, then that's when the care for building those relationships maybe or maintaining those relationships
They
may fall
dissipate.
off a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think that's more of a male thing, honestly. I think that like females, like especially if you're a girl's girl, like you're always gonna root for your girls, you're always gonna want that connection to them. So I think that we're striving for that. But again, I do think every person is different. And I think I'd make jokes about this before is like, I didn't understand before like getting married and being in a serious committed relationship, like why one person would want to bring their partner everywhere. Like, why does he need to come everywhere? But now I get it a little bit more. It's like you want to be with your partner. Like I could be with you 24/7. Do I think it's healthy for us to be with each other 24/7? Not necessarily. I think the balance is important. So it's like, am I willing to risk my friendships in the sense of like what losing? Because it's also losing a little bit of your identity
I was gonna say, how do you
too.
balance it? Like,
Yeah.
if you're okay with being with your partner for 24/7, how can you put parameters around your whole persona of being able to, like, all right, I need to do this because I understand, like, my friends are here, right? And then I need to understand, I need to balance myself for my partner. How do you say you should go about kind of making all that kind of correlate together?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And I think, I don't know. I always talk about how, like, we make things look easy or whatever, but I think we really got lucky. Like, if I reflect on, like, my role in my friendships and your role in your friendships, we play a very similar role. And we have, like, even when we were connecting, like, our bridal party, right? It was really easy to say this person should go with this person should go with that
Right,
person
right.
based off of our friend group. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
feel like we have naturally had the ability of, you know, I don't know, connecting with similar people who have similar connections. And so that made our worlds a little bit more easier to combine. But I think as we get older, I mean, we just turned 34. Like
Yeah,
schedules, babies, life, work, all the things come into play now. And it's
yeah.
like and so that's the extra layer that I think we're talking about here is that like now we're at a point where we're not 20, 22, 24, where
Everything's
our
not easy
schedule,
flowing.
you know what I mean? Our schedule is loosey goosey and we can do whatever we want to do. No, we have to be intentional about it. And
Heck, we struggle to just plan with ourselves and within our careers. So like
yeah,
I can only imagine not throwing in the variable of friendships,
yeah.
but you never want to lose sight of that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just putting that piece out there. I mean, I not don't want to dive down and make it seem some more personal, more keeping it granular for those people that struggle with,
Yeah,
interacting with friends and relationships and combining those two worlds together.
yeah.
But it's more of just trying to understand, like, I guess it's easy to say communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every day is not the same day, and what you plan for tomorrow, something may come up and mess that up.
Yeah.
And I think just trying to communicate and stay strong in that belief, I think that helps. But like overall, it's a slippery slope when it comes to like just planning, and especially nowadays, like I just said, A could be planned for A next week, but something B may happen, and we can't even do A.
Yeah. No, and I guess that's what breaks my heart about it all. It's like, I don't think friendships at our age end for no reason. You get what I'm saying? Like, I think I can think of a million reasons why there are a lot of people that I don't talk to now. And it's like, I hate to say this, but I reflect back to my wedding. Like, our wedding, I feel like not only just in our friendship, but also my family. There's so much that's talked about in getting married and getting engaged and the happiness of all of it, right? But
Yeah,
there is so much that's not talked about of dealing with the family dynamics, connecting your world and what that looks like, having all of your world in one place. That's a
it
lot.
is a lot. It's a lot. It's like a chemistry project you're trying to bring together.
A
I
chemistry
learned a lot. I
project.
lost friends. I've saw
Yeah,
a different side of family members.
yeah,
Even on your end,
yeah,
you experienced that too, and it's just like it's just crazy that you put a lot of time into the friendship to just when it comes to a time where you want somebody to support you, then they kind of like almost turn their back on you, or
yeah.
they then just put it on you and say, "Oh, you didn't give me enough time," even though we gave 2 years or something like that. We didn't give you enough time.
Something like that.
Yeah, but it's just yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, we've talked about this before about expectations versus reality. And I think that your hope is that the people that you love and care about, you expect them to show up for you. And when they don't, I think it's so devastating that it snowballs into other feelings
Right.
of sadness and anger and frustration and like hopes and dreams and crushes and all these things. And it's like, you're experiencing the happiest day of your life, right? And it's like in that moment it feels so good, but after all the dust settles, you're like, dang, like
Yeah.
how did we get here and how can I get back to what things were, things looked like before? And so I think I went into it, if I'm speaking for myself, I went into our wedding and like the relationships that I built around, you know our friendships and stuff, that the way that we have poured into people, I was super hopeful of
Yeah.
like how people would show up, and I was super disappointed in the lack of people that showed up. And I say that, but not saying that I'm not happy. Like, our
Beautiful
wedding
wedding.
was
Beautiful.
beautiful and everybody that showed up was supposed to be there. Like, let
Yeah.
me like disclaimer, let me make that very clear. Like, my wedding was gorgeous and beautiful and it was everybody that was supposed to be there was there.
And I'm super
100%.
helpful, super
Yeah.
happy and grateful for
And
those that
I'm
showed up for
more
us.
talking about the journey and the reflection afterwards of how I had to think about, hey, like, you know, I was really hopeful this person would show up. I
Yeah.
was really hopeful for this to happen. And it didn't happen that way. So, you grieve a little bit of that a little bit.
Yeah, no one talks about that. I'm also curious about like just other couples out there and their relationships with their friends and the journeys with families to get their wedding together. Especially, we had a destination wedding, right?
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother layer and a topic in itself. And it's just like it's not as kosher as people make it seem. Like
Yeah.
even have simple weddings local to where you are.
Yeah.
Like just the whole planning piece. And then sometimes like after the engagement, I guess me just being naive because it's my first time getting married and hopefully my last time, um, that
Better be.
the turnaround period can be very quick or it
Yeah.
could be very drawn out depending on the expectations.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stress that goes into that. So then I am also grateful for like the friends that you have that are
Hmm.
there to back you. So like to go with the friends in a relationship, and I think the whole topic was like friends, do they get the shotgun? Do they get the back seat or do they get the trunk? For me, I'd rather them get this, not really shotgun, but be in the back seat. Help me along. Be my
Hmm.
support system because that's what I would see for them.
Yeah.
Is be that good support system for them. Like I don't want to be shotgun. Shotgun should be your partner.
Yeah.
But like to put someone in the back seat and forget about them, I think that's where you start going down that slippery
I
slope.
think the relationship is in the driver's seat and the
Yeah,
friendship is the shotgun. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying like I think you're and what I hear from you is you're separating the two. It's like you the individual and your friendships are
as
in
a
the back
driver.
seat. Yeah, you're the driver of it all.
So wouldn't you being my partner be in the shotgun?
Yeah, but I'm saying we as the partnership are both in the driver's seat. And I'm saying the
Ah,
friendship is in the shotgun. It's like, hey, yes, our relationship is driving whatever next steps. Like this is a goal. This is something that's not going away. This is forever, right? So my friendships, I'm hoping, are in the shotgun saying, hey, I support you in this, I support you in that, or maybe we go about it this way. You know what I mean? Whether you support me 100% in what I'm doing and my choices, I'm not expecting that because that's not reality. I'm
right.
expecting more of like, hey, like let's talk a little bit about where we're at, where we're going, and what our hopes are, our friendship and our future. And so I guess what I'm saying is that romantic relationships aren't so different than friendships because I think you have to pour that same amount of care, respect, and communication and all of that. It reciprocates in the same way for a friendship.
Ah, that's fair. That's a different way to
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And I feel like if you take a, I'm not saying friendships should, I'm not saying that there are not times when friendships do have to take a back seat. So let me clarify that. Like, I do think there are times in your life where your friendships are going to be in that shotgun place and helping guide you away, AKA planning your wedding. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then there are going to be times when they may be a little bit in the back seat and maybe they're not in the forefront, but they're always in the same car as you. And that's the piece that I think sometimes happens is like, we somehow end up in different cars and we end up in different spaces, and that's the heartbreaking part because it's like it's uncontrollable in some circumstances. It's not anybody's fault. It's just the gravitation of life and where we're going and like who's where and who's there. And I can reflect on some of my past friendships and even current friendships of like, people have babies early, people have babies late, and like how that affects how we show up or the ability to show up in a friendship. So it's like being understanding about like life and where you're at, but it's
it's
hard.
not easy. And the biggest piece is balance.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes where you think you're balancing pieces is all in up to interpretation of the person, right?
Yeah.
So like balance, but my biggest thing that I want to share is never be untrue to who you are. Never
Yeah.
be untrue to how you want to go about and being happy. Never just give yourself to a situation and then be down the road later just being disgruntled, dismayed, sad of just like how you went about doing something. I feel like if you can attack it head on, I mean, grab it, like I said, kids, whole different layer of this whole situation. But when you come to the consensus of just a friend to relationship, just be true to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think for myself, I think as I'm growing and getting older, because life and time is very real, I'm reflecting a little bit on even how I show up and my expectations and like my hopes from people. And it's like, I think when your circle is small, you put a lot of pressure on the people that are in your circle, right? To
No,
show up in big ways. And I think for me, I've had to really like do some reflection on myself of like, hey, like, am I realistic to expect people to show up in this way that I show up for everybody? You know what I mean? So you have to like, just because you show up in one way for some person doesn't mean that they have to show up in that way for you. And just because they don't, it doesn't mean that they don't love and care for you just as much. And so that was a lesson that I've had to learn a lot lately. And I think as you get older, like that's the hardest part about friendships is like recognizing your growth, recognizing where you're going, recognizing where you're coming from, and then how do we still maintain our friendship amongst all of that?
No, that's a dime you just dropped there.
Yeah.
No, that's big. I think, like, I mean, shoot, got me baffled. No,
Yeah.
I agree with that, and I think if everyone had that perspective to look at things to say like, hey, I did this. Why can't you do this? I
Mm-hmm.
think if people just say, I did this because that's who I am. I accept what you do. As long as you give some sort of effort, if people could look at that as just being like, I understand that is their effort that they did, and I accept that. I
Mm-hmm.
think there would be less tensions, less disagreements, less tiffs between friendships and relationships. And I think that will be a path to helping people just be very kosher with each other and make things very easy and going.
Yeah.
There's less stress about like, hey, like I take care of everything. How come you guys don't put forth the effort and take care of stuff?
Yeah.
I put this together. I did everything. I paid everything. How come you guys don't take the initiative?
Mm-hmm.
I think if people just communicate from the get go and say, hey, I really enjoy our times together. I really enjoy the things that we're doing. I just want to make sure we always have that because you never know, tomorrow may not be promised, right?
Yeah.
And then like I understand, like contribute what you can, show up what you can. I think if people had more of those type of dialogue with their friends, I think that could go a long place. And then to integrate the friendship, I think it even comes better if everyone's dating, which would be crazy enough that you would think there you would see more friendship interactions with
Mm-hmm.
everyone that is a couple. But life things, and then even the couples have their own friend groups, so it
Mm-hmm.
becomes more of a betting piece of like who's going to hang with who.
Yeah.
So
No, in my perfect world, like we would have all the couple friends and all of our couple friends would get together all the time. But I think I've had to realize that like just because that's my hope and dream does not mean that that's everybody else's hopes and dream. And I have to accept that, like
yeah,
genuinely. I talk a lot with my like kiddos about like not only expectations versus reality, but also the circle of control. Like there are so many things like that you don't have control over.
there is a lot.
Yeah. And the moment that you step into that other side of trying to control something, that's what brings the stress. That's what brings the anxiety, the depression, all the negative feelings because you're trying to control something that you don't have control
It
over.
was like, we were supposed to take care of this, and
Yeah.
like, time is pressing, I can't really do it. Then you're making that call like, hey, I can't make it.
Yeah.
But all reality, you knew that it was going to be pressing, but you didn't want to disappoint, right?
Yes.
So like that
Oh, you added a whole nother layer of
that
disappointment.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'm great. I'm a candidate of that myself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times where I'm like, yeah, back to backs. I could
That
meet
sounds
it. I
good.
could do it. Yeah. And then the time comes like, time is running over. I thought I could handle this in this certain period of time. And then, you got to go meet XYZ. And then it's just like, you felt like you failed yourself. You failed your team. You failed your partnership and friendships.
Yeah. No, I think integrating friendships and relationships is a roller coaster no matter who you are, no matter where you are. I think it's what your hopes are. What do you want ultimately? What friendships are worth saving? What friendships are worth putting that extra effort into? And I think that's what shows more than anything when it comes down to it all. Um, so I can't say that there's a textbook answer for it.
The
There's not
textbook.
one.
Right.
I wish I could give it. But at this point, I feel like, it's worth more of a conversation about figuring out what things have worked for people, what things don't work for people. What do you think?
I think this puts us in a space that we need to get some more people on and get their input on how
Yeah.
they handle their situations of friends and whatnot, and being with their partner and friends and combining those worlds together.
Yeah, no, we would love to hear some success stories. Maybe not success stories about how you've navigated your friendships after being in relationships, what's worked, what hasn't worked, what has helped you along the journey. But yeah, I would love for that to happen. So stay tuned. We might have some special guests joining us in regards to
Definitely.
this.
If you're out there and you like it, make sure you like, comment, share, all the good stuff to get our word out there for everybody. Yet again, we are your hosts, Tristan and the lovely
Breanna,
Love and Dialogue podcast. Take care.
until next time, guys.